been taught to believe that money comes from effort, that the harder you work, the more you'll earn. But deep down you've probably sensed something's wrong with that formula. You've seen people exhausted, barely getting by, even while working double shifts or juggling multiple jobs. And you've also seen others who seem to attract wealth effortlessly, almost magnetically. You've wondered what they know that you don't. It's not a secret. They're just playing by a different set of rules. Right now, you might be working a job that doesn't reflect your potential. You might be exchanging hours of your life for a paycheck that barely covers the basics. And the truth is that system, the one you were trained to trust, is not built for you to win. It's built for you to comply. You were handed a blueprint as a child. Go to school, get good grades, find a safe job, climb the ladder, retire. But what they didn't tell you is that the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. Bob Proctor discovered this firsthand. He wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't handed a winning ticket. In fact, he was cleaning floors for a living when he had a realization that changed everything. He stumbled across a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it sparked something in him. Not just motivation, but a total mental rewiring. Because what he learned wasn't about working harder, it was about understanding the laws that govern money, success, and compensation. There's a universal law called the law of compensation. It's not theory. It's not wishful thinking. It's how the universe actually rewards you for what you bring to the table. Emerson described it like this. The amount of money you earn will always be in direct proportion to three things. First, the need for what you do. Second, your ability to do it. And third, how hard it is to replace you. Think about that. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If what you do is in demand, if you're exceptional at it, and if replacing you would be a challenge, the universe and the marketplace has no choice but to compensate you accordingly. That's why two people can be in the same field with the same title, but one earns 10 times more than the other. It's not favoritism, it's vibration. And here's the most important part. Compensation isn't just about money. It's about value, the energy you offer, the solution you bring, and the frequency you vibrate at. Because money, at its core, is energy. It flows to those who are aligned with it. If you're constantly thinking about lack, worrying about bills, or doubting your worth, you're repelling the very thing you want. But when you shift into a frequency of abundance, when you believe, feel, and act like someone who deserves more, the universe responds. Right now, you're probably operating under M1, the first and most common way people earn money, trading time for it. You show up, clock in, and get paid by the hour or salary. It feels safe. But it's a trap. Because time is finite. You can't duplicate yourself. And when you stop working, the money stops flowing. That's how 96% of the world earns income. And that's why 96% of the world never experiences true freedom. Then there's M2, investing money to earn money. Stocks, real estate, crypto. It's powerful, but it requires capital. And if you're just starting out, it can feel out of reach. Plus, it comes with risk. If you don't know what you're doing, the market can chew you up and spit you out. That's why only about 3% of people use this method effectively. But there's a third way. The method that only 1% truly understand. And yet it generates over 96% of all wealth. It's called M3, creating multiple sources of income. And this is where things shift. Because now you're no longer bound by time. You're creating systems, products, ideas, and platforms that work for you, even while you sleep. Bob Proctor used this method to go from being broke and frustrated to becoming a millionaire, then a mentor to millions. Multiple sources of income are not reserved for the elite. You don't need a degree, a trust fund, or a team of advisors. You need awareness. And you need alignment. When you start seeing yourself as a creator of value, not just a worker bee, the game changes. Because the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to conviction. Ask yourself honestly, are you living in alignment with the income you desire, or are you stuck in a loop of scarcity and struggle? If your answer is yes to the second, it's not your fault. You were conditioned that way. From childhood, you were bombarded with limiting beliefs. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Be grateful for what you have. Don't ask for too much. Those aren't just ideas. They're energetic programs, and they're running in your subconscious, shaping your reality whether you realize it or not. That's why it doesn't matter how hard you work. If you don't believe deep down that you're worthy of more, the universe will continue to give you just enough to survive, not enough to thrive. That's where mindset comes in, not as a buzzword, but as the actual gateway to your next level of income. You have to recondition your mind to receive abundance. That means replacing old beliefs with new ones, speaking different words, thinking different thoughts, feeling different emotions, and taking aligned action. Bob didn't just read positive quotes. He studied, he meditated, he visualized, he declared, and then he acted, not out of fear, but out of knowing that he was meant for more. And so are you. Imagine what your life would look like if money wasn't a source of stress. If you woke up every morning knowing that income was flowing to you from multiple directions. Imagine having the freedom to create, to give, to live fully. Not 5 years from now, not after retirement, but today. That's not a fantasy. That's a vibration. And you can align with it. Most people wait their entire lives for permission. Permission to be rich. Permission to break free. Permission to do something different. But no one is coming to hand you that permission slip. It's not in your mailbox. It's not in your boss's drawer. It's not even in the degree hanging on your wall. That permission has to come from you. From the moment you decide you're done waiting, from the moment you stop shrinking your dreams to fit the size of your bank account, and instead expand your mindset to match the size of your vision, you're not here to scrape by. You're not here to fit into a mold. You're here to create, to lead, to rise. And that begins the moment you choose to believe that wealth is not something reserved for others. It's for you. But belief alone isn't enough. You have to back it with understanding. Understanding of the law of compensation and how to position yourself as someone the universe must reward. Let's talk about value. Because money is simply an exchange of value. If you want more income, you have to increase your value. Not your effort, your value. And value is not about how many hours you can put in, it's about the energy you bring to those hours. It's about the uniqueness of your perspective, the depth of your knowledge, the power of your solution. When you become irreplaceable, you become undeniable, and the universe begins to compensate you in ways that are exponential, not incremental. So ask yourself, where in your life have you been playing small? Where have you been waiting to be picked instead of picking yourself? That business idea you keep shelving, that gift you keep hiding, that message you're scared to share. Those are your keys. That's where your compensation lives, but you'll never find it if you keep waiting for someone else to validate your worth. Validation doesn't build wealth. Ownership does. Ownership of your time, ownership of your energy, ownership of your craft. You have something inside you that no one else has, a way of seeing the world, solving problems, expressing truth that is uniquely yours. That is your wealth. That's your capital. The more you nurture that, the more the world will reflect it back to you in income, impact, and opportunity. But let's get even more real, because this isn't just about mindset and vibration, it's also about practical action. If you want to move from trading time for money to creating multiple sources of income, you need to shift how you think about work altogether. You don't need more jobs. You need more channels, more streams, more systems. You need income that flows while you sleep, while you travel, while you live. And here's the good news. It's never been more accessible than it is right now. You're living in a time where you can create digital products, launch a brand, build an audience, serve clients, all from a phone. You don't need millions to start. You need clarity. You need commitment. You need to understand that the old rules don't apply anymore. You don't have to climb the corporate ladder. You can build your own. The internet is not just entertainment. It's a gateway. And if you learn how to use it right, it becomes your greatest asset. It becomes your multiplier. But if you don't, it becomes your biggest distraction. Most people scroll their opportunity away. They consume other people's dreams while ignoring their own. But you can do something different. You can become intentional with your attention. You can stop feeding algorithms and start feeding your future. Bob Proctor built his wealth by studying success, duplicating proven strategies and sharing his knowledge in ways that created value for others. He didn't have fancy credentials. He had awareness. He had hunger, and most importantly, he had the courage to think differently, to step outside of what society told him was possible. And that's what you're being invited to do right now. You're not too late. You're not underqualified. You're not stuck. You've just been conditioned. Conditioned to look for answers in the wrong places. Conditioned to believe that struggle equals virtue. Conditioned to tolerate financial frustration because that's what everyone else around you is doing. But when you begin to question those beliefs, when you begin to reprogram your mind, your entire reality starts to shift. Let me ask you something. How would you show up if you were already earning your yearly income every month? How would you walk into a room? How would you speak? How would you think? What would you say yes to? What would you finally say no to? That version of you already exists. It's not in the future, it's in the frequency. And you can begin tuning into it today. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So become the version of yourself who already knows how to create value, who already knows how to receive compensation, who already knows their worth is not up for negotiation. That's when the universe takes notice. That's when the laws start working in your favor. Because these aren't just suggestions, these are laws, just like gravity, just like magnetism. The law of compensation is always working. The only question is, are you working with it or against it? You have to get serious about becoming excellent at what you do. Not perfect, but excellent. Mastery is magnetic, and in a world drowning in mediocrity, excellence is irreplaceable. If you're a writer, write like no one else can. If you're a coach, speak truth others are afraid to say. If you sell, sell with such integrity and conviction that people feel elevated just by being in your presence. That's how you rise above the noise. That's how you make yourself invaluable. That's how the universe starts writing checks in your name that match your vision, not your fears. And no, it won't happen overnight. But the shift begins the moment you decide. The moment you move from how can I get by to how can I serve at the highest level. From how much can I make to how much value can I create. From will this work for me to I was born for this. That's the turning point. That's the vibration of someone who earns in a month what they used to earn in a year, not because they hacked the system, but because they became the system, because they understood that true wealth is not something you chase, it's something you embody. And the truth is, the world is starving for people who operate like that, people who are in integrity, who deliver results, who bring soul into business, who serve with heart and lead with wisdom. That's the new currency. That's what creates income that never stops. Income that's not chained to your time. Income that multiplies, scales, and flows, because it's built on truth. You have everything you need. You've always had it. The only thing missing was the awareness of who you really are. And now you know. Now it's time to act like it. The wealth you desire is not outside of you, it's within you, waiting for instruction. Waiting for you to decide that you are no longer available for a life of financial struggle, waiting for you to stop negotiating with your limitations. Because the moment you stop asking for permission and start commanding your reality, the entire frequency of your life begins to shift. You stop chasing money, and money starts following you. You stop trying to prove your worth, and you start embodying it. And that's when something miraculous happens. You begin to attract opportunities that once seemed impossible. You start meeting people who see your value instantly. Doors open without force. Clients come without convincing. Resources appear without resistance. That's not magic. It's alignment. And alignment always precedes abundance. But alignment requires clarity. You have to be clear on what you want, why you want it, and who you're becoming in the process. You can't vibrate at two frequencies at once. You can't want abundance and constantly dwell on lack. You can't declare wealth and constantly speak poverty. The universe responds to your dominant vibration, not your wishes, not your effort, not your potential, your vibration. So speak as if it's already yours. Think as if it's already done. Act as if it's already here. Because when you do, you're not pretending. You're creating. Every thought is a broadcast. Every word is a command. Every emotion is a signal. And every signal has a return. Bob Proctor used to say, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. But most people never get that far because they let their current results define their future potential. They look at their bank account and say, this is who I am. But your bank account is not your identity. It's just a reflection of your past vibration. And that means it's already old news. If you want new results, you have to become a new version of you before the money shows up, not after. This is where most people get stuck. They want the evidence before they change. But transformation doesn't wait for proof. It requires faith, not blind faith, not fantasy, but faith in universal law, faith in cause and effect, faith that when you do the inner work, the outer world catches up. Right now, you are in the perfect position to begin. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need an investor. You don't need more time. What you need is a shift, a mental pivot, a moment where you stop saying, I'll try, and start declaring, I will. Because once you decide, your actions change. And when your actions change, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your income follows. Your yearly income can become your monthly income. That is not just a possibility. It's a formula. It's not reserved for the elite. It's not luck. It's law. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to elevate smarter. You need to move into the frequency where $10,000 0 cents a month feels normal, where $25,000 0 cents a month feels expected, where $50,000 0 cents a month isn't a dream. It's your baseline. Because when that becomes your standard, the universe has no choice but to meet it. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. You can't take your current mindset into your next level of abundance. You can't keep thinking like a $50,000 0 cents a year employee and expect to manifest $500,000 0 cents a year. That's like trying to tune into a new station while clinging to an old frequency. It doesn't work. Something has to shift. So what needs to change for you? What beliefs are you still holding on to that no longer serve your wealth? What habits are you still practicing that keep you in limitation? What relationships are you still entertaining that drain your energy and blur your vision? These are not small questions. These are wealth questions. Because wealth is not just about what you do. It's about what you tolerate, what you allow, it's what you expect. You were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. Rise up and claim what's already yours by divine right. Financial abundance is not greedy. It's not selfish. It's responsible. Because when good people have money, they do great things. When conscious people become wealthy, they shift the entire planet. So stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop dimming your light to keep others comfortable. Stop waiting until you're ready. Ready is a lie. You're already equipped. You're already worthy. You're already enough. The only thing missing is your decision. Bob Proctor didn't become a millionaire by accident. He became a millionaire by alignment. He changed the way he thought, the way he spoke, the way he felt. He saw himself as wealthy long before the money showed up. He studied, he learned, he applied, and then he shared it with the world. And that's the key. Wealth multiplies when it flows through you. So, don't just accumulate. Activate. Don't just consume. Create. Don't just wish. Work. Not hard work for the sake of struggle, but aligned work, inspired work, strategic work that multiplies your impact and expands your income. Multiple sources of income are not a luxury, they're a necessity. And the greatest source of income you'll ever create is the one that's born from your gifts, your message, your medicine. That's where the magic lives. That's where the money lives. That's where the law of compensation begins to reward you in ways that feel effortless, natural, and inevitable. You don't need to build a business like anyone else's. You need to build a business that reflects your energy. You don't need to follow a path that's already been paved. You need to carve one that lights you up. That's what creates longevity. That's what creates legacy. And legacy doesn't start someday, it starts now, in the small choices you make today, in the moments where you choose courage over comfort, in the decisions where you stop surviving and start thriving. Because the life you desire is already real, it's already available, it's already waiting. The question is, are you finally ready to receive it? Receiving isn't just about taking, it's about allowing. Most people don't struggle with earning because they're not capable. They struggle because they've unconsciously blocked their ability to receive. Somewhere along the line you were told to be humble, to not ask for too much, to be content with less. And while humility has its place, false modesty is a poverty mindset dressed in spiritual clothing. There's nothing holy about lack. There's nothing enlightened about struggle. You were born to expand, to create, to overflow. Money isn't the root of all evil. Misalignment is. Because when you're aligned, money becomes an extension of your service. It becomes a reflection of your impact. It becomes a tool in the hands of someone who knows exactly what to do with it. That's why you can no longer afford to feel guilty for wanting more. Wanting more is natural. Expansion is natural. The universe is constantly growing, constantly evolving. And so are you. The desire for more isn't greed, it's growth, and denying it is denying your own nature. You can't change your financial life by changing your bank account. You change your financial life by changing the thoughts that created it. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner beliefs. So if your current reality isn't reflecting abundance, it's not because abundance isn't available, it's because there's still a belief buried somewhere in your subconscious that says you're not ready, or not deserving, or not capable. That belief is a lie, and it's time to uproot it. Every time you tell yourself, I can't afford it, you reinforce that lie. Every time you say, that's too much, you lower your threshold for receiving. Every time you hesitate to invest in yourself, you delay the abundance that's trying to find you. That doesn't mean you should be reckless, but it does mean you need to become aware of the energy behind your decisions. Are you making choices from fear or from faith? Fear will always shrink your world. Faith will always expand it, and expansion is the gateway to wealth. When you expand your beliefs, your income follows. When you expand your vision, opportunities follow. When you expand your identity, your reality follows. That's the formula. That's the frequency. That's the truth Bob Proctor lived and taught. He often said, most people tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death. But you're not here to tiptoe. You're here to make waves. You're here to shake the ground you walk on. You're here to leave a mark so powerful that even your doubts start believing in you. But to do that, you have to step into the unknown. You have to risk being seen. You have to outgrow the version of yourself that was okay with just enough. There's no badge of honor for being the hardest worker in the room if you're still broke, still exhausted, still unfulfilled. Your worth is not determined by your labor, it's determined by your alignment. When you align with your calling, when you activate your gifts, when you create value for the world in a way only you can, compensation becomes a natural consequence, not a battle, not a grind, a consequence. That's the shift. When you stop chasing money and start chasing mastery. When you stop trying to get rich and start becoming valuable. When you stop looking for shortcuts and start standing in your power. That's when the law of compensation turns in your favor. That's when the universe takes your side. Not because you begged for it, but because you became a match for it. And becoming a match isn't about pretending, it's about practicing. Every time you show up as the highest version of yourself, you're practicing. Every time you choose abundance over fear, you're practicing. Every time you speak life over your goals instead of doubt, you're practicing. And the more you practice, the more it becomes your new normal. That's what wealthy people do. They normalize abundance. They treat overflow as expected. They speak the language of prosperity without hesitation. They think in terms of scale, not survival. They're not asking, how can I afford this? They're asking, how can I expand to receive more of this? It's a completely different way of thinking, and it's available to you right now. So let this be the moment you stop negotiating with mediocrity. Let this be the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. Let this be the moment you stop playing roles written for someone else and start writing your own. Because you are the source. You are the vessel. You are the instrument through which abundance flows. And once you realize that, your income stops being an accident. It becomes intentional, predictable, scalable. Your job isn't to chase money. Your job is to raise your vibration to the level where money can find you easily. Your job is to master your message, refine your craft, and multiply your channels. You're not limited to one way of earning. That's an illusion. You can have digital products, online courses, consulting, affiliate income, book royalties, licensing, brand deals, investments, all flowing at once. That's not unrealistic. That's alignment. And once you start living like that, something else changes too. You stop seeing other people's success as competition. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's timeline. You stop comparing your beginning to their breakthrough. Because you know deeply that abundance is not a limited resource. It's infinite. It expands the moment you expand. It multiplies the moment you believe it can. That's why gratitude is so powerful. Because gratitude doesn't just appreciate what is, it attracts what's next. When you give thanks for the $100, 0 cents in your account, you signal readiness for $1,000, 0 cents. When you bless the client you have, you open the channel for 5 more. When you celebrate the small win, you set the frequency for bigger ones. Gratitude calibrates your vibration to receive more. And the more you receive, the more you can give, the more you can invest, the more you can serve. This isn't just about stacking cash, it's about stepping into stewardship. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just make money, but multiplies impact. That's real wealth. That's lasting success. So no, you're not here to work until you collapse. You're not here to survive until Friday. You're not here to retire after giving the best years of your life to someone else's dream. You're here to thrive, to create, to lead, and, yes, to earn more in 1 month than you used to earn in a year. And when that shift happens, when that reality clicks, you'll realize it was never about chasing money. It was about becoming the person who could handle it, respect it, direct it, and use it to amplify your highest calling. That version of you is ready, and the universe is waiting. The universe is always listening. Not to your words, but to your energy. It doesn't respond to the surface, it responds to the signal. So if your mouth says, I want abundance, but your energy says, I'm afraid, then guess what? It responds to fear. If your lips say, I am ready for more. But your actions scream hesitation, the response will be delayed. But when your words, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all move in the same direction, that's when reality bends. That's when money moves. That's when everything begins to change. Fast. And that's not just spiritual fluff. That's physics. That's frequency. That's vibration. You are a broadcasting station, and what you send out will always be reflected back. If you want to become a wealth magnet, then the first shift is internal. You have to become the kind of person who expects good things, who assumes success, who treats wealth not as a miracle, but as a natural consequence of alignment. It's not arrogance, it's confidence rooted in truth. Truth is, you've already experienced this in your life. Moments when everything just clicked, when you were in flow, when you weren't forcing anything, but doors kept opening. That wasn't luck, that was you, momentarily aligned. The mistake we make is thinking it was a fluke. So we sabotage it, we doubt it, we wait for it to fall apart. And in doing so, we pull ourselves out of alignment. But what if you didn't doubt it this time? What if you decided those moments of flow weren't rare? They were reminders. What if they were glimpses of what life looks like when you live from your higher self? That version of you doesn't need to beg for money. They don't need to hustle for crumbs. They're not impressed by survival. They're guided by purpose, grounded in faith, focused on service. And as a result, abundance finds them, not because they're special, but because they're aligned. You are not here to wait for abundance. You are here to become it. And becoming it means you stop attaching your identity to the old story. The story that says you've always struggled. The story that says your family never had money. The story that says you're not business-minded or good with numbers or financially savvy. That's not truth. That's conditioning. And you have the power to change the script. Bob Proctor wasn't always wealthy. He grew up poor. He dropped out of school. He had no formal education in finance. But he made a decision that changed everything. He decided he wasn't going to let his past dictate his income. He wasn't going to let other people's beliefs shape his potential. He read the right book, took the right step, said yes to a new belief system, and from there his whole life transformed. He didn't just get rich, he helped millions of others do the same. Not through shortcuts or hype, but through principle, through understanding, through repetition, because repetition rewires your mind. Every time you hear a new truth and allow it to land, a neuron fires. Do it again, it wires. Do it enough. It becomes who you are. That's how you reprogram scarcity. That's how you delete doubt. That's how you embed abundance into your subconscious so deeply that success stops feeling foreign and starts feeling familiar. When something becomes familiar, your nervous system calms down. You stop resisting, you stop second-guessing, you stop feeling unworthy. And when that resistance dissolves, manifestation accelerates. Because resistance is the only thing ever blocking your flow. Not time, not circumstances, not other people. Just resistance. And resistance is a choice. One you don't have to keep making. You don't need to fight for abundance. You need to get out of the way. Let it come. Let it land. Let it fill you, stretch you, and change you. Because real wealth does change you. Not in the way you fear, but in the way your soul desires. It expands your heart. It deepens your peace. It amplifies your generosity. It awakens your purpose. And it puts you in a position to bless others, not just with love or time, but with tangible, practical support. Imagine what becomes possible when money is no longer the obstacle. Imagine the people you could hire, the causes you could fund, the places you could go, the solutions you could bring into the world. You think your calling is big now? Wait until it's fully resourced. Wait until you have the financial firepower to execute your biggest ideas without hesitation. That's the level you were born for. Not paycheck to paycheck. Not just enough, not safe, small, or reasonable, but overflow. surplus, expansion. That doesn't mean everyone needs to be a millionaire. It means everyone deserves the freedom to choose, to create, to move without money being the deciding factor. That's true wealth. That's real liberation. And yes, the path there is spiritual, but it's also strategic. You can visualize all day, but if you don't have a container to catch the blessing, it will slip through your fingers. That's why multiple sources of income matter, not because you're greedy, but because you're smart. Because you understand that true security comes from sovereignty, not dependency, and the more streams you create, the less you rely on any one of them to survive. Some will be active, some will be passive, some will start slow and snowball, others will explode fast and then stabilize. But the point isn't to obsess over which one works. The point is to keep creating, keep expanding, keep opening doors. You don't need every door to open, you just need enough of them to create the flow you desire. And this is the paradox. When you no longer need money to prove your worth, it arrives faster. When you no longer obsess over how it will come, it shows up through unexpected channels. When you relax into trust and act from clarity, the results speak for themselves. So give yourself permission to relax, but not to retreat. You're not being called to laziness. You're being called to alignment. And alignment sometimes looks like taking bold, strategic action from a place of joy, from a place of purpose, from a place of deep anchored knowing that what you're building isn't just for you, it's for the people who will be impacted by your overflow. That's the ultimate shift. When money becomes a tool, not a goal. When it becomes a vehicle, not an identity. When it becomes your student, not your master. That's when you know you've embodied the truth. That's when you've become a living example of the law of compensation in motion. You are more than ready. Every dollar you desire already exists. It's already circulating. It's already moving. The only question is, are you in harmony with it, or are you unconsciously pushing it away? You can't attract what you resent, and most people, whether they realize it or not, carry resentment toward money. They think it's hard, they think it's corrupt, they think it changes people. But money doesn't change who you are. If you're generous now, you'll be more generous with more. If you're fearful now, you'll still be fearful no matter how much you accumulate. That's why this work goes deeper than financial strategy. It touches your soul. Because money is spiritual. It's energy. It's an extension of your beliefs, your intentions, your relationship with yourself. When you heal your relationship with money, you heal the part of you that never felt safe to receive, the part of you that was told asking is selfish, the part that equated sacrifice with virtue. That's the lie that's been handed down for generations. And it's time for you to break it. You don't have to suffer to be spiritual. You don't have to play small to be kind. You don't have to choose between success and integrity. That's a false dilemma. You get to be wealthy and heart-centered. You get to thrive and uplift others. You get to receive and give. In fact, the more you receive, the more you can give. Not just in theory, but in practice. You can fund dreams, build schools, heal communities, rewrite narratives. All of that begins when you say yes to your own financial expansion. You can't pour from an empty cup, and yet most people are out here trying, working 2 jobs, burning out, smiling through exhaustion, hoping someone else will one day see their worth. But here's the truth. Your worth isn't something to be seen, it's something to be known. Known by you, felt by you, declared by you, and when you know your worth, you stop settling, you stop chasing, you stop discounting your value to make others comfortable. That shift, when you move from proving to owning, is where wealth begins. Because wealth doesn't chase you. It recognizes you. It sees your energy. It meets your level. It bows to your decision. Not your desperation, not your talent, your decision. That's what Bob Proctor knew. He knew that wealth is a decision, long before it's a number. A decision to rise. A decision to lead. a decision to stop playing by rules that were never designed to set you free. You have that same power. You don't need permission. You don't need another course. You don't need to be perfect. You need to remember who you are. You need to step into the identity of someone who is no longer available for lack. Someone who no longer apologizes for success. Someone who knows, deep in their bones, that prosperity is not a fantasy, it's their birthright. So ask yourself now, what would your life look like if you truly believed that? How would you spend your time? Who would you surround yourself with? What would you stop tolerating? What would you finally allow? These are not surface-level questions. These are quantum levers. Every answer becomes an instruction to the universe. Every choice becomes a vibration. Every action becomes a portal to the next level of your abundance. And here's what's even more powerful. The moment you start acting like a wealthy person, not out of ego, but out of awareness, your world shifts to reflect that. Not because you're faking it, but because you're finally aligning with it. You eat differently, you speak differently, you walk differently, you carry a quiet confidence, a certainty that doesn't need to shout. That's the energy that creates overflow. Not the loudest one in the room, but the one who knows exactly where they're going and who they're becoming. You are becoming that person. Every time you challenge an old belief, every time you say no to lack, every time you raise your standard and refuse to settle, that's the work, that's the magic. That's what moves the needle faster than any trick or tactic ever could. Yes, there are strategies. Yes, there are business models. But until your energy is in alignment, none of them will stick. They'll feel like a grind. They'll fall flat. Because wealth isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more. More aware. More focused. More willing to show up like your future already exists. Your future self is not waiting. They're already living the life you dream of. They're already operating from clarity, from ease, from joy. And every time you close the gap between who you are and who you're meant to be, you collapse time. You speed up results. You access what others call lucky, but what you know is law. You don't need luck, you need alignment. You need repetition. You need to embody the principles you've heard 100 times, but perhaps never fully lived. You already know more than enough. The next level doesn't require more information. It requires more integration. That's how Bob built his empire. He didn't chase every new trend. He mastered the fundamentals. He lived them, breathed them, taught them, and never strayed. He repeated the basics so many times that they became his default. His wealth wasn't random. It was predictable. Because he built it on universal law. You can do the same. But you have to choose. You have to decide, right now, that this version of you, the one listening to these words, is capable of leading the next chapter. You don't need to wait for a sign. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next. The path will reveal itself to the one who walks it. And here's the truth that might challenge you the most. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from wisdom, from resilience, from everything you've already overcome. Every failure, every lesson, every moment you thought you wouldn't make it has been preparing you for this. You're not late. You're right on time. But time doesn't wait, and neither should you. Now it's time to build something real, not just in your mind, but on paper, in your energy, in your calendar. This is where you begin to create your abundance blueprint. Not a wish list, not a fantasy. A blueprint, something intentional, something strategic, something that matches the version of you who earns with ease, gives without guilt, and lives in overflow. Start by defining your MSI strategy, your multiple sources of income. What are the streams you can activate now? What are the ones you'll build in the next 6 months? Which ones align most with your gifts, your joy, your natural energy? You don't need 10. You just need 2 or 3 that light you up, serve others, and can scale with your vision. The goal is flow, not complexity. Simplicity that works while you sleep. Income that isn't chained to your hours. Wealth that multiplies while your soul expands. Now weave in your daily alignment practices, because no system will work if your energy doesn't support it. This is where you set your vibration. Every morning, every evening, without exception. This isn't a cute ritual. It's a spiritual reset. A recalibration to your higher frequency. Start with 5 minutes of silence. Connect with your breath. Feel the abundance around you. Speak your affirmations out loud, not like you're hoping they come true, but like you're anchoring what's already real. Say things like, I am a magnet for aligned money. I earn in overflow and give in joy. I am compensated richly for who I am. My income reflects my impact. Let every word become a seed. Let every breath carry belief. Let your vibrations speak louder than your thought. Then visualize. See your wealth vision as if it's unfolding right now. Picture the emails, the payments, the thank you messages, the sense of ease, the calendar full of clients who love your work, the bank account that smiles back at you, the freedom to choose where you go, what you do, and how you serve. And more than anything, feel it. Don't just see the numbers. Feel the frequency. That's the gateway. That's how you collapse the timeline between where you are and where you want to be. Because the moment you shift internally, the results begin externally. The quantum leap doesn't happen when the money arrives. It happens when you decide. When you stop being available for anything less. When you stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. When you stop needing proof to believe. Faith is the fire that ignites momentum. And your alignment is the proof you've already won. So here's the ritual. Simple, potent, non-negotiable. Wake up, get centered, set your intention, speak your truth, move your body, feel the energy shift. Then take action. 1 bold step every day toward your financial expansion. 1 client reached out to, 1 page written, 1 system launched, 1 idea acted on. Stack those moves, and within 90 days your life becomes unrecognizable. Because the universe moves fast when you do. Time is not the problem. Alignment is. The version of you who says, I'll do it later, lives in delay. The version of you who says, I'm ready now, lives in acceleration. You get to choose which timeline you live on. You get to choose how fast your reality bends. There's no reward for hesitation, there's only more of the same. And you didn't come this far for more of the same. You didn't survive all that pain, all that pressure just to stay where it's comfortable. You came to rise, to remember, to rebuild yourself from the inside out. And now, you're ready. Ready to finally let go of the guilt, the fear, the judgment. Ready to let go of the belief that wanting more makes you ungrateful. That wealth means selfishness. That your dreams are too big, too wild, too much. None of that is true. The truth is simple. You deserve to be wealthy, not just financially stable, not just debt-free, not just okay. You deserve to thrive, to overflow, to walk in rooms with the kind of quiet confidence that says, I've remembered who I am, to never again second-guess your value. To never again make decisions from survival, to never again shrink to fit a budget that wasn't built for your spirit. You deserve to be wealthy because your purpose is valuable, because your energy is healing, because your ideas change lives, because your presence transforms rooms, because your work is sacred. And sacred work should never be underpaid, overworked, or overlooked. Sacred work deserves sacred compensation, and now it's time to receive it. Let this be the moment you draw the line between the old you and the wealthy you, between the version of you that waited and the version that now walks with power, between scarcity and sovereignty, between proving and knowing. Because the truth is, there's no one left to convince. Not the world, not your family, not your bank account, just yourself. So, here's your invitation. Step forward. Not someday, not next month. Now. Begin the new story. The one where your income matches your energy. The one where your success is inevitable. The one where your wealth is not an accident, but a conscious creation rooted in truth. You've learned the principles. You've felt the resonance. You've tasted the vision. Now it's time to live it. To become the living example of what happens when you align with the law of compensation, raise your vibration, master your craft, and unapologetically receive what you're truly worth. Not because it's a dream, but because it's your destiny.